Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Nick Cage Fight Podcast, where we give you pure, uncut synopses of Nicolas Cage movies, even ones he's only in for a brief moment. In fact, our first episode on this particular film included no Nick Cage whatsoever. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by Rich and Ryan, and I have a question for you two. It occurred to me, this is our first recording since Thanksgiving. So what were you guys thankful for?
Turkey.
So I'm about to say, so we actually got a turkey from Popeyes, and it went way
The chicken
harder.
people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did Thanksgiving turkeys for like $18. It was a little turkey that it was like already cooked, just to heat it up in the oven for like an hour.
Okay.
And it was delicious.
I've always wanted to try. Don't they sell full-size fucking turkeys with the spice and everything too?
Yeah, that's what we have, but it's still a smaller,
Okay.
Like a
turkey.
15-pound instead of like a 20.
Yeah, it's meant to probably feed 5 to 6 people, if that.
Okay. So 2 turkey-themed thankful responses there.
Yeah, because
I just love turkey.
I'm normally not a big turkey eater. I don't like turkey all that much, but this turkey was delicious.
Turkey can be like the best poultry. Other than I like Cornish hens and I like turkey. Those are the 2 birds that I like to roast whole.
Go figure. One of my favorite things about Thanksgiving is my family always does this weird hors d'oeuvre that we have been doing for 2 decades now. So like expansive access to the internet. I think it was around, but dial up at the time. So unless you heard about something like this from word of mouth, odds are very high that you would never discover it. I've heard it called by several names, but we always called it Frog's Eyes. It's thick cut deli ham.
I like ham.
That you soften up cream cheese and spread it across it.
Right, you lost me.
Put pickle spears in the middle.
Oh, you're talking about fucking Midwestern sushi.
Midwestern sushi is another name I've heard.
All right. Okay.
Absolutely. And it's absolutely fucking phenomenal. I
gotta ask, what's the preferred brand of pickle spear you're rocking?
So I have fucked around with a couple of them. Let me tell you right now, gherkins, right out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, too small. You got to get good gherkins if you're going to get gherkins at all. Otherwise, they're garbage.
So what I do when I make them is I do Clausen spears.
That's the correct choice. Those are the best fucking pickles in the market.
And I pat those suckers very dry before assembling the whole thing. Because after you roll them, you got to chill them and then slice them with a good sharp knife and then refrigerate them again until you're ready to consume all of them as quickly as humanly possible. So, but yeah, that's my pick. And I can't take full credit for that. My wife is the pickle freak in our enclave, and so she identified the best pickles long ago. So
yeah, those are legitimately my favorite, standard pickle brand. Of course, you get like the nicer bougie spicy pickles occasionally, but if I'm just buying
those small brew ones,
small brew pickles, the craft pickles.
You know what occurred to me? We were so excited to jump into this. I did not give the basic stats of this film at the beginning of episode 1. If you are horribly confused, we are covering Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse, the 2018 film that was rated PG and clocks in at an hour and 57 minutes, which doesn't feel too long at all.
No, it really doesn't. It breezes right by.
I can't believe I missed that. That might be a podcast first. I'm not sure. So, all that being said, I think we can get back into it where we last left our brand new Spider-Man, Miles Morales. Peter Parker in his world has died, having been killed by the Kingpin, who's got some particle collider that he's getting up to some fuckery with. And Miles is trying to figure out how to come to terms with this massive change in his life. So it is perfectly appropriate that we open on a funny montage of Miles trying to learn how to be Spider-Man, where he goes up to a very tall building and goes to jump off of it and is like, no. Picks a smaller building, goes up to the top of that and jumps off of that and then promptly falls all the way to the ground, hitting every possible object between him and the ground. And then when he lands painfully, he breaks the key to disabling the particle collider.
The goober.
The goober. which is a great bit.
Yes, I know. I love that they just took a MacGuffin and basically just called it as such. He's like, there's always a thing. There's always something. It's either this or that. I just call it a goober.
It cracked me up because I was watching this at my buddy's house, and he calls the resident 3-legged dog that lives there Goober.
That's funny. Wait,
and yeah, she was just hanging out down there while we were watching the movie.
I'm sorry. The way I need some more context because the way you phrase this sounds like there's a 3-legged dog squatting at your friend's house. Is it his dog?
It's his brother and his brother's girlfriend's dog.
Okay, are they his roommates?
Yeah, sort of. Like they're all living in the mom's house.
Okay. But yeah, just the resident dog that hangs around. I'm just like, what?
I appreciate
under
that
a
yard.
Bridge?
It's a good yardstick. She's only got she's got 3 feet.
Yeah.
Very good. Although I should say that was bad since you didn't like my Chris Pining joke last episode.
Well, mine was a good pun.
Okay, all right. So Miles goes that evening to visit Peter Parker's grave, which is like covered with like flowers, drawings, toys, all this shit. Exactly what you'd expect. It was an obvious inclusion, but still a bit touching for comic book nerds because, you know, that seems like the appropriate response to the death of Spider-Man from the citizens of New York. So while he's there sort of talking to the grave, trying to, you know, grapple with his new responsibilities here, he's approached from behind by a guy who startles him, and Miles shocks the shit out of him with one of his signature specific Spider-Man moves. It's the Venom shock, and this knocks this stranger out cold. And then upon checking the body, Miles sees that this guy is wearing like sweatpants and an overcoat, but just has otherwise a Spider-Man outfit on.
Yeah. Weird, but okay.
And he appears to be a Spider-Man as well. So
I'm this a Spider-Man. You're a Spider-Man.
So we get the voiceover introduction rundown of the story of this Spider-Man, who is Peter B. Parker. And this is washed Spider-Man. this dude is divorced. Aunt May died. Things aren't going great for him. He's let himself go a bit. He's sweatpants Spider-Man.
Yeah.
My favorite part of the montage was him being like, I got a new place. I got myself together, and it's just him crying in the shower in full Spider-Man gear.
He's fucking waterboarding himself in that situation.
Yeah, he's like, I'm working on my abs. He's just like eating pizza and shit in his bed. But it looks like the particle accelerator explosion yanked him out of his universe and into Miles's. So at this point, the cops show up. And Miles grabs Peter B. Parker's comatose body and flees to the best of his ability. This scene is pure slapstick. So Miles
is really fucking good.
It's so fucking funny. So Miles is using Peter B's web shooters on his unconscious hands to sort of like swing himself away from the cops.
This has like the best cartoon shit in it compared to like the rest of the movie, even though there's a fucking cartoon pig that can throw the black hole on a wall and then just stick a hand in it. This is funnier than any of that.
Yeah, it's full Looney Tunes shit. Like Peter B. Parker regains consciousness several times throughout the process just to be knocked unconscious again in like the most gratuitous fashion. You got all the good tropes. He ends up with like a snowman head on his head at one point.
I love the snowman head, and then they hit it hits a fucking window, and the kid behind the window is listening to some like grimy kind of psychedelic hip hop, and the fucking the snowman head starts melting across the window.
Yeah, like one of the webs hits. hits like one of the overhead trains, like one of the overhead train tracks, like a moving train, and then just getting whipped through traffic. And yeah, bouncing Peter B. Parker's head off of every hard surface along the way.
Yeah.
But when Peter B wakes up, he is restrained to a heavy bag in Uncle Aaron's apartment. I'm fairly certain is where
Yeah, correct.
Yes.
Miles takes him. So Miles questions him, and Peter B seems fully uninterested in teaching Miles anything about Spider-Manning. He's a bit jaded himself at this point about it all. And then frees himself from his bindings relatively effortlessly. Jesus Christ.
That was gonna be
Stumbled
fun
on
to
that
edit.
one. Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all good. I'll make it sound like a real word.
There you go. Please. You gotta make me sound good in post.
It's generally half the job.
Yeah. Sorry. Again, my apologies. So Peter B. Parker goes to leave, but he starts glitching out pretty hard. It's the same sort of animation as the spider that bites Miles. Although there's not a clear connection between the two. Peter B is glitching because he's from a different dimension. Whereas I don't know why the spider was glitching.
I was under the impression that the spider was in the particle collider, and that's what caused it to be all fucked up and weird.
That makes sense. So Miles fills this new Spider-Man in about the super collider and how that, set all this off. And Peter B latches onto this pretty quickly as being his ticket back to his own universe. He tries to leave Miles at this point, but Miles manages to guilt him into agreeing to help. So he's like, all right, let's get to work. And then this is where we get the infamous burger scene, which
those animators were eating good that day. They were having some fun.
Yeah, they were.
They knew some people with food aversions would be really grossed out by this.
Yeah, Peter B is just eating a burger in the sloppiest fashion possible. Of course, my favorite iteration of the internet jokes that came out of this, somebody who photoshopped a gun in place of the burger.
Yeah. He's eating a sloppy burger, and I love the line where he's like, in my universe, this place shut down for some health code violations. I fucking love this burger.
Yeah.
I respect the shit out of that attitude. That is the approach I take to hot dogs. Every time I'm housing a hot dog and somebody's like, do you know what's in that? And I was like, yep. Does not matter at all. I hope they put more of that shit in here.
I can go for the emulsified tube of pig assholes.
Hell yeah.
The chef slams down the check. He's like, yeah, you got this, right? I'm a little bit not liquid right now.
Yeah. Solid. I'm not gonna lie. Peter B is full funny. Very much enjoy his particular brand of. I honestly, that's the part that's 100% for adults. I feel like even if things are going good for you, you're like, I fucking get this guy.
Yeah,
this guy gets me. Just miserable and doesn't want to deal with any of this shit anymore. So anyway, they team up and head out to Alchemax, which is the company that it looks like the previous Spider-Man in this universe made the override key at. There is a funny bit where Miles has just tied like a yellow, like literal like Super Mario 3 yellow cape on, and Peter B is like, no capes, that's disrespectful. They plan how they're going to tackle this, and Peter B is like, you're going to stay out here, I'm going to go in there. And he details his plan as to how he's going to go in, hack the computer, get the goober, steal a bagel specifically, and then escape.
Hey man, they're in the New York City fucking general area. You know those bagels are better than anything we got down here.
I don't know about that.
I do know that.
So,
our bagels are trash.
Ryan,
I don't want to hear that.
There is a chain in our area.
Manhattan Bagel.
No,
their bagels are awful.
Called Hot Bagels and More.
Yeah, no, those are some solid fucking bagels.
No, because they import water from New York City every morning.
Okay, I don't think I've had a hot bagels and more in a minute, but I do remember them being better than the other bagel fucking franchise that's around here that is just garbage.
Wait,
Well,
which
yeah,
one?
that's
We'll
Bagel
bleep it.
Gourmet.
Oh, yeah. Fuck that.
no,
Yeah.
they're garbage.
Hot bagels is where it's
Awful.
at. But also, this is one of those things. This is one of those food things where it's like fucking pizza and bagels and shit like that. That is not strictly a New York thing. It is a tri-state area thing, and our shit in Jersey holds up. I won't
I
hear
disagree
otherwise.
on the bagels until I have another hot bagel or more.
Also, fun fact, and again, we might have to bleep some of this for anti-doxing purposes. You know, there are multiple hot bagels or more, but they're different franchises because like apparently the couple that owned them divorced, so they are
Ooh,
unrelated,
love
but they
that.
both have the same names. So
Yes, I did know that.
So you're gonna have to text me the correct hot bagels to go to.
I'll
Because
have
I
to check
know
with
the husband is cutting corners.
another
Or
bit of
ex-husband.
another quick aside for fun local lore. You guys know about Murder Cafe?
Oh yeah, I know
Wait,
about Murder
no?
Cafe. I used to fucking love their eggs Benedict.
I don't know Murder Cafe.
Me too. I used to love their eggs Benedict
Yeah,
as well.
let's not name it, but there was definitely a little like breakfast cafe right around the corner from us where the dude fucking murdered somebody. Was it the wife or was it the mistress? I can't remember.
The mistress.
It was the
because
mistress.
the wife divorced him, got ownership of the restaurant, opened it under a different name, and like they had just moved locations, and then this happened. And then the wife divorced him, got the restaurant, reopened it under a new name. That shut down. And then now they're moving back. No, they're moving to a whole new location.
The way I found out about this was
wait, I know
I
what
had to
you're
look
talking
up where
about.
the second location was because I was like, I'm gonna give myself some eggs Benedict. And then they were fucking closed. And I was like, why are they closed? At 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. And I looked it up and I was like, oh.
You know he's like
Oh.
waiting tables somewhere now, right?
He's gotta be, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but fun fact, all of the details I was trying to follow online about that disappeared mysteriously. Like
But
you
dude
can't.
must have gotten a good lawyer.
Well, it was also more than that. Apparently, the victim had some I'm not going to name what they were doing, but some relatively prominent public service like sector positions, and it got really messy.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that tracks.
but yeah, so fun lore that we got to bleep a bunch of shit of so people don't show up at our doorstep.
Yeah.
Going, are you Nick Cage? Because we're not. He doesn't live in Jersey, as far as I know.
You don't live here no more.
Yeah. So Peter B runs off and goes to infiltrate Alchemax while Miles is playing lookout. And then of course I've gotten ahead of myself because what happens prior to all of this is if you haven't given us $1, I am forced to punish you with ads.
Ads for the Murder Cafe.
Yeah. That would be funny. We might be able to actually get them to sponsor us. I mean, any press at this point.
If their
Yeah, but,
fucking
like-
eggs Benedict are as good as they used to be, I will take that sponsorship to heart.
Yeah,
I'm
but
not gonna
only,
lie, I
only
didn't
if they
notice
let
a
us call
dip
us
in
Murder
food
Cafe.
quality. What was that?
Only if they let us call them the Murder Cafe.
No, I actually, now that I think about it, this episode and what we've said thus far is probably
We
disqualifying
didn't name
us.
names. We didn't
Still.
say shit, man. I didn't say shit.
And there's your I
rig
think you should
shit.
leave.
Yeah, but anyway, so listen to these ads or give us $1. The choice is yours. And we're back.
And of course, you can give us that $1 is patreon.com/Nick Cage Fight. There we go.
Or buy me brunch.
Simple, easy to remember. Also, yes, if you personally buy Ryan brunch, he'll subsidize your Patreon subscription.
Absolutely, 100%. Buy me brunch.
So, right after Peter goes to infiltrate Alchemax, Miles witnesses Wilson Fisk rolling up to the entrance. So, of course, he runs off and follows, climbing into the air ducts in the building and running directly into Peter B. Parker. So they sneak into an office and start trying to get into a computer. However, Wilson, and oddly enough, the scientist that was featured in the classroom video that Miles was seeing earlier when he was at school, are having a conversation in the hallway, and it looks like somebody is coming back into the office. Miles is stuck to the light fixture on the ceiling, and Peter has to try and talk him through controlling his sticky power, which primarily consists of calming down and relaxing, and then the release occurs at that point. This is where we get the silly bit where Miles sings that song to himself, and it works. He then does also learn that he has another power that allows him to turn invisible by camouflaging himself. So the scientist comes back in, and right before this, Peter explains, okay, listen, use your invisibility power. You're going to hack the thing so we can make the new goober, and I'll lay on the charm while you do that.
I kind of love this sequence, honestly.
Yeah. So it also includes a funny bit where Peter is like, yeah, the password is, and it's an absurd string of like numbers and characters, and Miles is like, I can't remember any of that. But the scientist comes in and sees Peter and gets pretty excited. She's like, oh shit. She basically realizes that he's from another dimension. She's like, I have to take cheek swabs, all this stuff. Meanwhile, Invisible Miles is trying to get the goober data from the computer. While the scientist is examining Peter B, she tells him, oh, because he glitches out. She's like, oh, so you're going to die if you stay in this universe too long. You're not in your right dimension, and your cells are actively decaying while you're here. And then this is where we get the reveal that this scientist is a gender swapped Doc Ock.
And I love it. I fucking love it. It's such a perfect character design to take that
it is really good
bowl cut looking ass motherfucker and give you do the gender swap. She's got the big curly hair. It's a perfect gender swap in my opinion, personally.
It's very good.
Agreed. It works out perfect. So when this is revealed and the Doc Ock arms come into play, Miles just goes to run off with the whole computer and monitor, the tower and monitor.
Which we get a good series of jokes about that, but also there's a setup for an excellent fucking joke a little ways down the line that we missed here. She introduces herself as Olivia Octavius, and Peter B. Parker is like, do your friends call you Doc Ock? No, they call me Liv. My enemies call me Doc Ock.
Doc Ock, yes.
Yeah.
And then we get a great payoff for that at a later moment that I will shout out when we get there.
Perfect. So Miles is running down the hallway as Peter B is fighting Doc Ock. He runs into Wanda in the hallway, like blows right past her. They flee the building together with Peter B actually stealing a bagel, like he said. There's a funny bit where they're just walking through like the lunchroom. This is where they steal the bagel, and all the scientists are like, is that fucking Spider-Man? And he's like, oh, no, I get that all the time, which is a solid bit. And then they all pull like laser guns and shit. It's pretty funny.
It is pretty good.
And then one of them yells, stop him, he took a bagel.
Yeah, stop, he took a bagel.
And then he fucking hucks the bagel and hits that guy in the dome.
Yeah.
Wait, doesn't Miles take it and hit the guy with it?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Because Peter B would never.
Would never. Those are carbs, baby. That's energy.
Yeah, so Peter B equips Miles with one of his two web shooters and gives him a crash course on web swinging. It isn't going super great. In fact, it's very funny. I'm sure we've mentioned this on the pod before, but in the last year I took up golf, which I am awful at. And all of the instructions Peter is shouting, that is the entirety of my experience of people trying to help me with golf. He's like, yeah, you just got to do this and 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 this. And Miles is like, that's too many things. And he's like, fine, then just stop listening to me. So Miles does manage to get the hang of web swinging. at a certain point, but it looks like Doc Ock is going to ultimately get the computer anyway. Oh, we did miss one of my favorite jokes when they're running through the building together. Peter's like, well, I got some good news. We don't need the monitor, which Miles is still carrying.
And then Doc Ock is like, it's proprietary, you do.
Yeah.
So just when it looks like Doc Ock is going to retrieve the computer, Spider-Gwen shows up, knocks out Doc Ock, retrieves the computer, and reveals, in fact, that her name is Gwen, and she is from a whole different dimension. We get her voiceover and background. In her universe, Peter Parker was her best friend and died in some conflict. She got sucked in from the same particle collider issue that caused Peter B to show up, but she showed up back in time, which is why she was in play prior to the particle collider incident actually happening. Also, she clocked that Miles had spider powers when she ran into him after he had gotten bitten. So the Spideys head off together as Fisk angrily remembers, like, the whole predicating incident for him was he was fighting with Spider-Man, and this scared Vanessa and their kid.
Richard. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Richard Fisk, who goes on to be another supervillain. And Vanessa's actually the cutthroat one in that fucking relationship, so this is actually out of character. But that's fine because it's an alternate universe from the standard fucking MCU.
Yeah. So the Vanessa and Richard witness Fisk in a fight with Spider-Man. They're horrified by this and go to flee and then die in a car wreck while they're trying to get away from Fisk. So the whole particle collider thing is to try and correct this issue. Find alternative Vanessa and Richard. So Fisk and Doc Ock intend to fire up the collider again tomorrow evening. Miles, Gwen, and Peter go to this universe's Aunt May's house. It seems like she's initially floored to see Peter B, but is very quickly accepting of the multi-dimension thing. And then she takes them out back to the spider shed, which is an incredibly elaborate entrance to an elevator into a spider lair that is basically a fucking spider bat cave for all intents and purposes. Very extensive.
It's pretty cool.
It is very cool. We also learn at this point that they are not the first spider people to show up on Aunt May's doorstep, and we meet in rapid succession several other spider folk, including our first appearance of Nick Cage as Spider-Man Noir. We also get Penny Parker and Peter Porker, who is Spider Ham.
Who was a spider that was bitten by a radioactive pig.
Yeah. Which is kind of funny.
It's very funny. I love Spider Ham.
So Porker is a pig. Penny is from the future, whose radioactive spider pilots a combat robot that her father made. And Noir is from...
Just like Evangelion.
Yeah. And Noir is from a 30s grimdark black and white universe and is absolutely hilarious.
Did I mention during the main recording, not the Patreon portion, that his Uncle Ben was eaten by cannibals?
I think it was so. A Patreon, so...
Okay.
I'm not sure. Well, I can't remember.
It bears repeating, because Adrian Toomes, the Vulture, is a cannibal in the Spider-Man Noir universe and ate Uncle Ben. Not the rice, the man.
So Miles is they're planning on how to deal with the particle collider, and Miles correctly points out he's the only one who can stay back and ensure that the collider is destroyed after everybody gets sent back to their own universes, because if anybody else stays behind, they will die. Unfortunately, despite Peter B trying to jazz him up, Miles is unable to do his zap or his invisibility power on demand, and the other Spideys are leery of his ability to pull this off. Hilarious bit where all of the spider folk are sort of shouting and in Miles's face about, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you be cutthroat? Can you make the hard decisions? Can you float through the air when you smell a delicious pie? All like character specific questions. And my favorite is Spider-Man Noir doing surprise attack and just sweeping the leg on Miles. So this is pretty disheartening and overwhelming for Miles, who, while all of the spider people are talking about how he can't possibly pull this off, he turns invisible and leaves the lair. At this point, out on the streets of New York City, Miles has missed several calls from his parents who are trying to get in touch with him. Nobody has heard from him in some time. He ignores them and tries to go see his Uncle Aaron, who is still not back at his apartment. Miles lets himself in and writes a letter trying to express his feelings about this overwhelming sense of responsibility he has now to do all this stuff, and he doesn't think he's up to it. However, while he's in the middle of this, the purple suited villain that we saw earlier chasing Miles comes into the apartment through the window. Miles hides and then even uses his invisibility to avoid detection. And when the purple figure finally pulls off his mask, we see that it's actually Uncle Aaron, who is the true identity behind the Prowler, the name of this particular character. Miles flees, once again pursued by the Prowler, and after some mild theatrics, he does manage to get away. Cut back to the other spider people. They work together on building a new goober. We learn that Spider-Man Noir is colorblind. He's fascinated by a Rubik's Cube, but he can't see any of the colors on it.
Yeah, he keeps like, is this purple? Is this purple?
Yeah. Miles makes his way back to Aunt May's after evading the Prowler, although not fully successfully, because he was unfortunately followed by Fisk's goons, which include Scorpion, Tombstone, and Doc Ock. I like the inclusion of Tombstone. Solid member of the Rogues Gallery for Spider-Man.
Yeah, who has not been in any movies, so it's nice. Good for him. Proud of him.
So of course at this point a fight ensues. The Prowler shows up mid-fight, and the conflict spills onto the street. The Prowler corners Miles on a rooftop, and Miles pulls off his mask just as his Uncle Aaron is about to strike. At Fisk's command, Aaron pulls Miles's mask back down and lets him go, and Fisk shoots him in retaliation.
Okay, so we glossed over the callback to the Liv Doc Ock thing. When they first break into the house, Aunt May says, "Oh, it's Liv." Great.
I missed that, actually. That's
implying
funny.
that Aunt May and Olivia Octavius are actually friends.
Which makes some sense with some of the things with Aunt May. Yeah.
Especially because fucking Doc Ock and Aunt May got married in the comics.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh.
She also got married to the Vulture at some point. They did a lot of weird shit back in the 70s.
She gets around.
Aunt May straight trapping and hoeing.
So Miles takes off with his uncle, who is comatose at this point, just as Miles' dad shows up in his cop car, responding obviously to calls from this superpowered fight that is occurring in a residential neighborhood. Miles makes it to an alley, and Uncle Aaron has some parting words for Miles. He tells him that he is the best of them, and to keep going, he'll get it. He's just got to keep doing what he's doing. And then expires, dies. Miles' dad, Jefferson, rolls up on the scene shortly after this, and Miles has to turn invisible to flee, leaving Jefferson to see Aaron and realize that he's dead. So at this point, Jefferson puts out an APB on this new Spider-Man. Back in his dorm, Miles kind of wrecks the place in a rage before his spider friends show up. They try and comfort him by explaining that all of them have failed to save people close to them. In fact, they might be the only people around that know what he's going through.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
tracks.
They try and all hide when Miles's roommate shows up, but he does eventually spot them and then passes out after seeing all of them.
Like up on the ceiling.
Yeah, the spider folks leave Peter B to break the news to Miles that they're not going to take him with them to the attack on the collider, and they take the goober from him. Peter B explains since he can't use his powers on demand, he's not ready. He'd be a liability in the fight. He just can't go with him. And then he leaves Miles webbed up to a computer chair with webbing even over his mouth, so he can't call out for help or anything like that. So at this point, with Miles restrained, his dad shows up and knocks on his door, sees the shadow underneath, knows that or believes that Miles is just not responding to him because he's clearly been going through some stuff that Jefferson incorrectly concludes is just some teenaged angst shit. But Jefferson nevertheless has a sort of touching conversation through the door with Miles, ending with that he loves him and that Miles doesn't have to say it back. This, however, he also specifies that he pushes Miles because he knows that he's special and that he's capable of great things, and he doesn't want them to drift apart. Obviously, up in his feels about the death of his brother, who he was at least borderline estranged with up until his death. So after saying his piece, he leaves to give Miles his space, but it does look like this is exactly what Miles needed to hear, because he shortly thereafter, Venom strikes his way out of the webs, turns invisible on command when his roommate wakes up, and then heads back to Aunt May's and the spider shed to suit up. And this is probably my favorite sequence in the movie. He gets the black and red spider suit with the sort of like spray paint spider symbol on it. He's got
but it's like a little bit weird because right on it is, instead of a spider symbol, it just says BYU.
I forgot about the product placement on that one.
Yeah, it was a weird product placement.
But it was only for people who haven't given us a single $1 a month.
$12 a year. If you gave us the $1 at patreon.com/NickCageFight, you would have seen the spider. But if you didn't, it says BYU, and on the back it says go to Lancaster.
Yep. So yeah, listen to some more ads or give us $1. Really,
I'd prefer the $1.
Me too.
I like $1.
All right, and if you gave us the $1, your Spider-Man suit will go back to showing a spider.
There you go.
That's it. It's that easy.
So again, probably my favorite sequence in the film. Definitely very, very cool. Miles has his black and red spider suit. He also has a very cool black and red trimmed hoodie, and a sweet pair of kicks on, and he leaps off of a tall building, gets the web swinging down with his particular signature style of swinging, which is, I can't tell you exactly why it's different from Peter Parker's, but it's got a bit of flair to it, and kudos to the animation team for really bringing that out.
Yeah, and I like this whole thing is basically been about like you can't learn to be Spider-Man. It's all about the swag.
It is all about the swag.
Yeah, Spider-Man is 100% the fake it till you make it superhero. Always has been.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, he takes off to catch up with his spider friends, and the travel sequence is dope. Very, very cool.
Very well animated. Now, something we actually haven't mentioned, but is a very cool detail in this whole movie, is that most of it's animated at 24 frames per second, but Miles is animated at 12 frames per second, implying that he has not yet gotten the chops to become a full-on Spider-Man. This is the point where they start animating him at 24 frames per second.
See, that's the super, like, when I looked at the directors and like their back, this is what happens when you let a bunch of art nerds direct an animated film.
Yeah,
You get
and it's
really
fucking
cool
great.
shit.
Yeah, you get art nerd shit like this.
Yeah. Also, fun fact for like the fucking gamer nerds out there, they do the same frame. Well, they do the slower frame rate trick with Miles's Spiderverse costumes that you can unlock in the video games feature.
Oh, I didn't play the new
Oh.
one yet, so I didn't know that. That's very cool.
I think they even have the same thing in the Miles Morales Spider-Man game that
Okay.
came out.
I still got to get around to that one because I don't have a PS5 and I heard that one runs like shit on a PS4.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But yeah, the new Spider-Man game is pretty solid as well.
Just to
throwing that
know.
out there. And they have a Spider-Man Noir costume that you can.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Oh, hell yeah.
This is going to be Nick Cage my entire playthrough.
So the rest of the gang shows up at the entrance to the Collider. Well, how they're going to get to the Collider because it is actually under Fisk Tower. So they have to sneak in, and very lucky for them, Fisk is holding a dinner in the honor of the late Spider-Man.
That's such a fucking Kingpin move, too.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like a lot of the character writing in this is perfect for like the tertiary characters and like the antagonists. Yeah, I love that. I also love that we get a little bit of Tombstone. Tombstone doesn't get enough credit in
He does not. Also,
animated or even live action shit.
It's fun because he features in the video games, and his whole bit is just being indestructible, which does make him like a lower level villain. Because you just got to restrain him, put him in jail, and heroes don't kill people anyway. So what does it fucking matter?
Spider-Man Noir does. Spider-Man Noir straight up murders people, and that's hilarious. Like his entire arc in the comics is he starts out killing people, and then he kills a bunch of Nazis, and then eventually down the line, he's like, maybe those people I killed at first weren't so cool to kill. I'm still cool with killing the Nazis.
Yeah, it's even included in his like quick voiceover introduction.
Yeah, like I punched a lot of Nazis.
Yeah, the things I do is helping dames, solving mysteries, and murdering Nazis, basically.
Yep.
But yeah, so not only is Fisk holding a dinner in honor of the late Spider-Man, all the wait staff is wearing like Spider-Man getups. And there is a funny bit where they're like, how are we going to get in there? And like, wait a minute. It can't possibly be that easy. It is that easy. Of course, unfortunately, Peter B has a moment where he gets all up in his feels seeing this universe's MJ and has a very weird conversation with her where everything is sort of veiled in waiter speak. And like the other spider people are trying to desperately drag him out of that interaction.
Okay, so this is fucking funny. I watched like the first third of Caddyshack before watching this just because it was on TV. And it really reminded me of the scene where they're doing the banquet at the fucking the country club. Danny Noonan just keeps giving butter to the one fucking girl that he's trying to get down with.
I think that's enough.
Actually, a pretty good comparison.
And just Rodney Dangerfield hitting all the one-liners.
Oh yeah, you know you're a lot of woman. How'd you like to make $14 the hard way?
What do you tell the judge's wife? Like, I bet you were
that was
the Great Depression. Oh, I thought
no, he does say that earlier too. But yeah, it is the judge's wife that he's like, hey baby, you want to make $14
the hard way. A perfect movie.
It really is.
So below the tower at this point, Doc Ock is firing up the Collider. So the gang, sans Miles, shows up underground just as the Collider starts up. Peter B goes to Goober the Machine, intent on being the one who stays back to die. But Doc Ock and Fisk goons attack before they can shut it down. And a fight with the whole Rogues Gallery ensues at this point. As Doc Ock goes to take out Peter B, an invisible Miles shows up to save him. And the gang is pretty happy to see him. Like, he's in control of his powers now. They were technically doing it for his own good. But, happy to have him on the team at this point. In the control room, Fisk is continuing to force the scientists to push the envelope as far as the power they're pouring into the machine. And outside, the city starts seeing the reverberations just like the first time. The multi-dimensional colliding is running amok, essentially. So inside the collider room, the Spider Gang sees the universes colliding much more from the front row. Noir fights Tombstone while hurling old-timey sounding insults, but they're all like nonsense. I didn't write any down, so I don't know.
I don't recall them either, but I do remember having a giggle.
It is very funny. Spider-Ham gets in on the action with like cartoonish antics, like with the mallet and
pulling a big
like
mallet
that.
out of his small pocket. He's got like the holes that he can huck on a wall, even though that's a Spider-Man villain that does that shit. And then you stick your whole hand through one hole and it comes out another hole. There is a Spider-Man villain called the Spot who does that, and he's I think it's Jason Schwartzman in the second one.
Yeah,
I
think I'm not sure if that's
he's the one that fucks everything up in the second one. That movie,
he's the primary like catalyst for the second movie, which is not nearly as good as
this one.
Unfortunately, Penny's robot takes seemingly fatal damage in the fight. Miles works with the team as a full-on Spider-Man now, even saving Gwen at one point. He steals the goober from Peter B, throwing back Peter's line to him from earlier. What is it? You got to watch the hands, not the mouth.
Hands, not the mouth.
Yeah. And then goes to make good on getting everyone home. Penny retrieves her radioactive spider from the dead spider bot as Noir and Ham comfort her. Miles gets the goober in and assembles the team to send them to their respective homes. Penny gets sent home first. Noir gets sent home second, and this is probably my favorite bit from him. It was all good bits, but he's like, listen, I want you all to know I love you all, and I'm taking this Rubik's Cube.
I don't understand it, but someday I will.
Yeah, the I love you bit is just so perfect for a Cage character.
It was very good.
Spider-Ham goes next, and he gives Miles his mallet. He's like, here, take this to remember me by. It's a mallet. It'll fit in your pocket.
Yeah. Apparently a lot of his ad-libbed dialogue had to be cut because when they told him to have fun, he just started cursing, and then he asked what rating this movie is, and they were like, PG.
Gwen and Miles share a brief moment before she goes home, and then last up is Peter B. Unfortunately, Fisk shows up to the fight at this point, and Peter B tries to go after Fisk, but Miles insists on sending him home. Peter B pushes back a bit, but Miles, again, like just throwing Peter's lines back at him, which Peter actually acknowledges, and then drops him back in the portal, leaving him to face Fisk one-on-one, which is a solid fucking fight. Fisk is getting some serious licks in, but gets distracted by ghosting images of Alt Dimension, Vanessa and Richard, who are still equally horrified by seeing Fisk in his more honest moments, I guess you could say. Jefferson shows up underground, actually, in the control room to witness this portion of the fight. Fisk gets the upper hand, beats down Miles pretty hard, but Miles hears his dad saying, "Get up, Spider-Man," and climbs back to his feet. Basically what he failed to do when all of the other Spidey people were questioning his abilities. He gets up and does the shoulder touch to Fisk, Venom striking him and shocking him before web swinging him directly into the control panel with the goober, shutting down the collider. The machine breaking apart causes a bit of a mini black hole effect before the core elements overload and explode. In the aftermath, Miles and Jefferson finally connect again via phone call. After Miles sees Jefferson while still in full Spider-Man gear, he hugs him, which is an awkward bit because Jefferson doesn't know Spider-Man's true identity at this point. Even tells him he loves him. which
I
should be
kind of
odd.
love that, honestly.
It's really good. It's really solid.
Yeah.
He's doing a goofy, deeper voice bit that is kind of iconic to Spider-Man's in
Yeah.
general. And then after we see he has webbed up Fisk for the cops to take into custody. And then now we get Miles's own voiceover and scenes of him Spider-Manning, hanging out with his dad, doing well at school. We get quick glimpses of the other Spider-Folk back in their own worlds, with Noir even eventually figuring out the Rubik's Cube and doing like a
press tour.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're right. It's more of like a huckster tour.
Yeah.
It's like he's selling snake oil from town to town.
Yeah. And at the very end, we see Miles reclining on a bed in his dorm, and we see the flickering light indicating a dimensional portal appearing over Miles, and hear Gwen asking him if he has a minute, and then credits roll
for the sickest fucking credits roll of all time.
Yeah.
I love how unhinged this shit gets.
It was really good.
You get to see the spider buggy, you get to see Peter Porker spider ham roasted on a spit, and then Peter Porker's roasting a regular Spider-Man on a spit. Fucking amazing.
They really had a lot of fucking fun with it.
Yep.
I feel like the money hooks got in after this, and that's why the second one was the way the second one was.
Yeah.
Which was essentially a big
sequel jump off point. Yep, exactly.
Which, why? You did so fucking good. Why can't you understand why it went so well?
There's just not that much interesting going on in the second one, even aside from the fact that they leave it off with a big cliffhanger instead of just having a movie that is a movie.
Also, more than that, the entire plot point of the second one is a full controversion of the point of the first one.
Because they're all still like, oh, he's not ready, even though he has proven that he's ready. That was his entire arc for the first movie. You can't make him go through the entire arc again.
That's not even my beef with the second one. It's not that he's not ready again. It's that it is an anomaly that he is even a Spider-Man, because you're not connected via canon events, which goes directly against the anybody can wear the mask thing.
And he had a canon event in his uncle dying.
Correct. 100% correct. It's like they forgot that the first movie ever happened.
Yeah.
Except for trying to cash in on fan favorites.
Literally,
like
the only thing that's good
like
about the second fucking Spider-Verse is the Hindu Spider-Man. I love that guy. That guy rules.
Yeah, the art design
was
and
really
style
fun.
And personality. Also, Punk Spider-Man was very solid too.
I like the design of Hobie. I do not like that his canon event is that a cop dies. No Punk would consider that a tragedy.
True. I did like somebody posted the actual script portion of his last scene, and it's written as Hobie fucks off through a portal.
Awesome.
But yeah, no, this was phenomenal. This is one of those things where you get a movie that you can take a popular franchise riding the coattails of a current cultural moment, which is this massive mainstream glow up nerd shit has gotten over the course of the last decade or so, and still produce something that is artistic. And it's rare to run into that. And as soon as you do it well, your next one is going to be shit, because then the
money fuck.
Do we have an example of that not happening? I can't think of one.
You mean where the second one is as good as the first one for something like this?
For something specifically like this. Like, it's tough because like the
John
first
Wick,
thing
but that doesn't count.
John Wick was the first thing that came up in my mind too. But
that's not nerd shit. That's shit that nerds co-opted because it was so fucking sick. That's actually like lowest common denominator action movie shit that we just all decided was awesome because it is.
So I think there are a couple of important elements of John Wick that made it good. It was made by a guy who, from experience in the industry, took a very hardline stance on doing things right as far as safety is concerned, with a focus on one of the most important aspects of action movies that's gotten lost in the last 10 years, which is good choreography.
Yes, correct.
And not shitty camera work. and then did it. I don't think it was as much of an artistic reach as this movie was.
No. Yeah, it's just going back to how we done did it in the 80s and 90s.
Exactly. So yeah, so I do think this is an example of what happens when you get the clearance to, again, like, have a movie directed by 3 art nerds who do the shit out of it. And then it does incredibly well, and then it becomes a problem. And also it's caping on, an established popular franchise.
Yes.
So, it is what it is, but this was a joy to watch. I liked it very much. I love the depiction of Kingpin, to echo what Ryan said. I didn't want to derail us at the time, but this and the Netflix Daredevil depiction of Kingpin are my favorite.
Oh, fucking Vincent D'Onofrio is a perfect live action Kingpin. Absolutely perfect.
Absolutely amazing. And but this, again, still very,
I mean,
very
they shot
solid.
him like fucking Gandalf compared to everyone else's hobbits in that movie.
I know, it was
or in that
so
show.
well done though. And the again, another because we were just talking about John Wick, another show that took seriously its fight choreography. Was it the first episode or the second episode?
It was the
It's
first episode that you're thinking of.
the contiguous shot one.
Yeah, because the show
Oh.
opens with that.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that, I was like, son of a bitch, we're on to something.
It's the old boy hallway fight, that they're cribbing from, which, hell yeah.
And then another example of where, okay, we did something good, and then it all got fucked up because I think the Iron Fist season, the standalone seasons, I think he got 2 seasons, were like the lowest rated of them because they went bullshit on him.
I liked Luke Cage. Luke Cage was pretty good.
And Jessica Jones was good too.
I like Jessica Jones as well, although the first season was far and away the best one.
Yes, correct.
Well, it had David Tennant in it, so it was always gonna be.
It was also the most visceral.
Speaking of Mahershala Ali, he's the bad guy in that fucking Luke Cage series, and that whipped ass.
Yes, it did. It was really good. And again, another great example, exactly on brand, is where you do something successfully and then the money people step in and then it goes to shit.
Yeah.
And the whole thing gets shut down, which is just a bummer. But no, it was a lot of fun to watch a good, well done superhero flick, solid animated movie. There's nothing bad to say about this.
No.
I got no complaints whatsoever.
Not a one.
My one recommendation for both of you. Oh, we didn't talk about the after credit sequence. At the very least, let's shout that out because it does the 1967 Spider-Man cartoon good.
Go for it. Give us the rundown.
Yeah, fucking Spider-Man 2099 shows up. He's talking to his little AI girlfriend, and he's like, "I'm gonna get zapped back into another dimension, and I might be the first one to actually survive it." And he just zaps himself into the fucking Spider-Man pointing meme.
Yes. Very, very solid. So, and that was another thing that I liked about it. It was like self-aware and self-deprecating in a way that didn't feel hammy.
It felt like when comic books do that, which is something that the movies never do.
Right.
Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it a lot, and also it did well enough. It also managed to successfully juke, in my opinion, the worst thing about the comic book fan base that I despise. Like, anytime they gender swap or reimagine a hero in any way, shape, or form, people lose their fucking minds, and I'm convinced not a one of them has read comic books.
Yeah, because that's
all they ever do.
All they ever do.
They've got 15 stories, and they have to tell these for 80 years.
Yeah.
The only thing you can do is reimagine and tweak and take fun perspectives on over and over and over again. That's how comic books work.
I mean, how many times has Kraven gone on his last hunt?
Yeah. How many people die and come back? All of that shit. I mean, really, it's it's insane that people get
I
pissed
mean,
about that
the
stuff.
fact that Gwen Stacy is in this movie at all is just proof that like fucking comic books cannot stand by the their own convictions, because for the longest time Marvel said Gwen Stacy is the one death that they will never retcon, and then they fucking retconned it.
Yeah, because again, there's no such thing. All it is it's yes anding a story over and over and over again in every iteration that you can find. And we're going to keep gobbling it up because that's honestly one of the joyous parts of comic books.
Yum,
you know
yum,
what I
yum.
mean?
Give me my gray sludge.
Yeah.
Honestly, unironically.
And I think people who weren't really into comics, and I'm certainly not as into comics as somebody like Ryan, and both of us probably pale in comparison to some of the hardcore freaks out there. But this is the formula and the mold that has been in play for forever at this point. It's part of the fun of it. Western comic books, this is what we do. We tell the same story over and over again with little twists. And the Eastern version is to tell a story for 8 million episodes. You just refuse to let it die.
Decompressed storytelling is the technical term for that.
I always think of it as just the N+1 formula.
Yeah,
it's the same thing, same arcs. It's just there's another step in the evolution of whatever is being told.
Yeah, I will say that is almost exclusively shonen Asian storytelling, because there are a bunch of different genres and subgenres and demographic breakdowns for the types of stories that manga artists are willing and often will just tell, even if nobody fucking wants it.
A great example of that as far as a genre and a different type of storytelling, very much on your bookshelf right now, is the Junji Ito shit, which I love and is also enjoying a place in the sun right now with multiple animated, and even wasn't there a live action?
There are a bunch. There's a live action Uzumaki. There are 9 live action Tomies. There is a series of live action anthology films. There's a shit ton of Junji Ito live action stuff out there.
And he did an entire comic about his cat.
He did. His cats, Yawn and Moo.
What was the one he did? An adaptation of like a classic
No Longer Human, which is it's not a horror book. It's a book about like mental illness.
Yeah. And then he did his own take on Frankenstein too, if I'm not mistaken.
He did. I've got that one on the shelf. It's pretty good. It's like a shortened, abridged. His own take is like kind of giving it a little too much. It's just Frankenstein, but drawn by Junji Ito.
Yeah, I've read all of his shit. I love his stuff.
They keep coming out with new fucking hardcover collections. I can't keep up. I'm like 5 behind at this point.
But yeah, so great film. Highly recommend. Obviously, PG rating. You can put it on for anybody. If you got kids you're watching and shit, perfectly acceptable. But yeah, one of like I said, one of the more fun things we've watched in the course of this podcast. So no complaints from me. Very solid entry.
Yeah, this was like a week off for us. This is just a fun movie.
Oh yeah, 100%. This one was super easy.
So what fresh hell do you got for us next, Rich?
Yes.
Oh God, sorry, I'm not playing into the bit.
I don't remember what we have next, so I kind of need one of you to remember.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
Jesus.
I got it.
It's gonna be something.
It's Outcast.
Like with Andre 3000?
Oh yeah, well no, that would be a much better thing.
So here's the
no, this news. It's a 2014 American Chinese Canadian action film.
Oh,
starring Nick Cage and Hayden Christensen.
Oh my God! No, this movie sucks shit. I have seen this. Oh no!
Thanks for the spoiler alert there.
Oh, it's like a fucking period piece that's trying to be a wuxia film, and Nick Cage is like the Pai Mei teaching fucking Anakin Skywalker how to do a fight good, and they're trying to kill a deposed Chinese emperor.
Why do you want to kill a deposed emperor?
I don't know, some bullshit. Fucking...
Isn't the fun sort of out of it at that
Maybe
point?
I'm misremembering this, but I remember there's like a deposed fucking
No,
emperor
you're
is like a main
100%
plot.
right. It's in the fucking tagline. For
Is
the
it in
film.
the
It's a
tagline?
deposed Chinese emperor.
Jesus Christ. I remember this movie absolutely whiffing.
Yeah, but I do tend to agree. Like, what's the point at that point?
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
I hope Cage is super, super hammy in this. That's
Oh
all
wait,
I
it
want.
actually was not a direct to DVD. It did have a theatrical
This had
release.
I was gonna say I think I saw this in theaters and I think I walked out. Something I don't do.
Yeah, I would never.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
the
I spent
worst
like
movie.
$12 on that ticket.
Yeah, but you can always walk into another movie.
True, I've done it.
I've done it all the time.
Classic.
My go-to when Hot Rod was in theaters would be to just walk out of movies and go watch the rest of Hot Rod.
Yeah, I haven't done that since I was literally a broke teenager. I would go to the earliest showing of a movie and then just watch movies all day.
Yeah, that's the move.
What are they going to do? Kick you out?
If they catch you.
Yeah, they don't get paid well enough to recognize the same man
Yeah.
twice
Yeah, they don't care.
in this economy. Same
It
man
also
twice?
helps that I am constantly mistaken for other people. I think I just have like an NPC look, just like a reused asset look. Because
Oh, so you took an arrow to the knee.
Yeah, what's
I've
your
had-
NPC mark?
It's honestly, it's so weird. I've had people like full-fledged engage in the start of a conversation with me and realize 3 sentences in that I'm not who they thought I was.
This kept happening to me with fucking Fish fans in Atlantic City while I was working security because they kept thinking that I was a guy who was at a Fish concert recently with them.
Once I was standing outside of a bar and somebody walked up and flicked my nipple and then looked at me in the face, and just the most horrified expression came over his face. And he was like, "You aren't dating a tattoo artist from Wildwood." And I'm like, "No, I'm not." And he's like, "I am so sorry. I thought you were a friend of mine." And I was like, it honestly happens all the time.
Peculiar.
All right. So Spider-Man in the books, Outcast up next. God help us.
I'm ready for it.
You can find us on social media. We're on X still at cagefight_pod. Give us $1 a month to get rid of those pesky ads. Rich, tell them where to go.
Patreon.com/NickCageFight. $1 a month gets you every episode without ads, and more money gets you more things.
Simple, easy to remember.
Yeah.
We're on Facebook, but if you're an uncle, you'll find us there anyway. It's almost not worth mentioning. So yeah, that'll do it for us this time. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, dear listener, please remember, we appreciate you.
What pictures of bye-bye?